Alright, I need this. Yeah, it's 3:07. We would like to call this meeting to order. And let's all stand up for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so roll call in attendance, we have Bob, Ed, Carol, Doug, and myself. And a motion for the approval of the final agenda. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Public comment?
We have a few. First up is Nancy Straw regarding agenda item 11D, straggler parcels. Remind you have 3 minutes.
I am Nancy Straw and I live in Pelican Preserve. I would like to respectfully request that you consider tabling or deferring action on items under 11D that are within the confines of Pelican Preserve. I just had someone make me aware of how much of that property was actually in Pelican Preserve recently. And I think there are others in the community who may want to at least be aware of it before you take any action. So I would just like to ask you to consider that when that comes up on your agenda.
And the purpose of that is so they have more time to review it.
They had no knowledge it was even taking place. And I think there should be an awareness level.
And who has a problem with us taking them over?
I'm not sure they do, but no one is even aware of it at this point. And there are some that are, from my limited knowledge, I can see are part of conservation areas or adjacent to, or are ponds that make a ton of sense. But there are a couple of areas that I'm not sure do, specifically, I think it's 19 and 20, that are along Prado Drive by the entrance to Matarita. And I think we should converse with people before the transfer is made.
Okay,
Tony, this is
so
WCR.
plans to bring this up at President's Council meeting? Or
I would-
what?
Probably talk to, we have a board workshop coming up on November 15th. And I can email the other board members from the community association. I really just want a level of awareness before things transpire.
So
So we just moved to one meeting, right?
Yeah,
there's no action being taken from this board today, other than giving direction to staff and district council on how to proceed working with Charles Mann and PV's law firm on what parcels we would like to take over.
The issue is there is no WCI.
well, it's
What are we
Lennar.
gonna do?
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's the one that came out of bankruptcy that still has the ownership of these parcels.
But I mean, for all practical purposes, they're non-existent.
Well, they're capable of conveying the
But
property
that's it.
for this purpose, yes. And perhaps the board may want to, when it comes to this point, and they want to just, I think the request is take out the Pelican Reserve parcels, not all of them, or just all of them, or some of them.
I'm familiar with the two that she's
Yeah,
requesting.
I would suggest perhaps just table all of them so we can talk about all of them, but there's only two in my interpretation, which is pretty limited, that really should at least be made aware. Our community should know.
I mean, this is not a hot thing, it's been hanging around. for years.
So we can discuss it further.
Yeah, another month, it's not a big deal.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody who wants to have input, let them have input too.
All right, next is Vince Lafredo regarding agenda item 11C, the statewide security contract. Reminder, 3 minutes.
Vince Lafredo, Stony Brook. I've addressed the board before. I go back 4 years ago and you and I talked, Ed, concerning an article that was online concerning roads in Stony Brook. And I know that the ownership of the roads, you want real bad to go back to Stony Brook. My question is, at this point in time, with this on the agenda with statewide, I have no vested interest in the company. I am talking to you as a resident. We're content with them. If we weren't content with the way they ran their business at the gate, although it's a false sense of security to all of us, we know that they're there. Our community counts on that. We have a gated community. If there's been problems with access by people from the CDD, I am quite sure that one way or the other, until we take over the roads, we can work this thing out. I don't want any animosity between the two of us. And it's a case of, I feel better knowing that that guard gate is checking everybody's coming in. And somehow, some way, if we have to have an identity with the people that are here or the guards, anytime they're there, to let that person in. This is my opinion. This is not the opinion of anybody else in the community. I have talked to a number of my neighbors. They're really concerned that this breach of contract is on the agenda for today, because I'm getting them smarter and smarter on what the CDD does. And as a resident, I'm really concerned about it. I don't see any problem. I would rather we just stay with the way we are, protect our community, and hope that nothing happens. If someone wants to gain access, and the more public we make this, someone comes in and has undesirable things to do that cause a problem over there, where's that going to blow up? It's going to blow up in all our faces. I would rather have these checks and balances. I feel more comfortable with it. If it's showing a license or if it's identifying a person that is known here, I would rather have those checks for us. And again, I'm not speaking for statewide. I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking for myself. And that's one of the reasons we moved in that community. And we've looked at it as security, understanding that the law term is access point, understanding that. So that is the 2 cents I wanted to throw in today.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Joseph Tarja regarding the same agenda item. He's actually representing statewide.
It would be better to discuss it when the item comes up.
I'm gonna get up now. It's fine.
Well, if you have questions when it comes up, I think it'll be easier to answer.
Okay, so then it's.
Always you can just back up if
Yeah,
you wanted to.
okay.
Okay, then Margaret Feinberg, 11B, 11C, and the B14 exotic cleanup.
I'll start with Margaret Feinberg, Stony Brook Gateway, representing myself. I'll start with the B14 tract and the exotic cleanup. What we wanted to do was add the monitoring to that, which was requested by the CDD. So I'm asking that that formally be on the next agenda so that we can discuss it at that time. Because we like for the funds to pay for that to come out of the 004 fund. So we're just requesting it be on the agenda formally in 2 weeks.
What was that?
Yeah, what items?
I didn't even see that.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh.
It's not. It's this is
Okay.
something we've been working on.
And for information, track B14 is a track west of
West
Gateway
of Gateway
Boulevard.
Boulevard.
Correct, that's that, and which kind of wraps around.
It's the one that had the exotic issue.
Correct. And south of Stony Brook Village and another one.
Okay. Okay.
Correct. So if we can have that placed on the next agenda, that'd be great.
Okay, that's really fine.
On and 11B with the pavement dressing, I noticed that the price on that in this particular board item is $189,000, which is a whole lot more than it had started out being, but there's no breakdown in the agenda item as to what equals $189,000. So I wondered if we could get that because that seems a lot higher than what we had anticipated it being. And 11,
Bid schedule? We didn't put this together. Who put together the bid schedule?
I thought it was Randy. I thought we were told it had to be Randy.
The vendor is here, which you can discuss later with, ask specific questions, but
Well, I'd asked the
So-
question and called in, was there a competitive bid? And I was told no. So the only document that would be a single identification of cost, whether this is a lump sum, unit price, what is it?
I don't know. That's my question.
I believe they, if my memory serves me right, they went out for bid. One company refused.
they, hold on, they solicited
They
quotes.
solicited,
They
okay.
did not go out to
So
bid.
that's okay. So they solicited a quote. One company refused the same service, and then they were left with just the one that they presented to us. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay,
I do remember that,
okay.
but I remembered it being a lot less. That's the only thing.
It was one company because it was sole sourced specified, as I recall.
Right.
That makes a big difference.
Because it's
You basically weren't doing a bid if it was just sole sourced. You get a price and you negotiate.
Requesting quotes, yeah.
I just trying to find out is who's the negotiator.
I think it was Randy.
Well, the The HOA initiated that we use this vendor for the remainder of their side streets within Stony Brook because they used this vendor a year and a half, 2 years ago. And so, the original proposal was handed to the district and then, Randy worked in getting all of the contract documents straight, and we worked and met with them. And again, she is here. She
But
can.
it's,
she can come
I
up.
think originally on Stony Brook side, it was Chris Capielli.
And that's what I recall. I recall you guys starting it and then suddenly the
Bringing
district
it
says,
to-
hey, Randy have to do it. So I don't know if it was stopped or finalized by the time they gave it to Randy, but they initiated, they had done some work with it and then it was passed on.
Yes.
just trying to find out, is it a unit price contract or a lump sum?
Lump sum
It's a lump sum, okay.
And we'll get those details in the.
in the agenda.
Yes.
Well, it's a lump sum, having unit prices don't mean anything.
And then the last one was 11C, and I'm just hoping that the Board of Supervisors will go with option number 1. Thank you.
Next.
Next up is Tom Murphy. I think this says 001 fund and dorm taxes.
Well, mine was a non-agenda item.
Yep, that's what's a non-agenda.
Right. So, can I talk about it?
Yep.
I just,
I went through all the agenda items, so just announce yourself and your neighborhood, and then you can go ahead. 3 minutes.
Tom Murphy, Stony Brook. I really have a question. I'm trying to just find out. When we pay our ad valorem taxes, I know part of our ad valorem taxes go to the 004 fund and some go to the 001. I'm trying to find out, does all of the communities, Hampton Park, Stony Brook, Pelican, Preserve, and all the others, do they all contribute to the 001 fund?
I can answer that. Everyone in Gateway, with the exception of Pelican Preserve, pays into the 001 fund. Pelican Preserve is assessed separately. The 001 fund is for stuff that's shared for general operating admin expenses and general operations of Gateway in general. Pelican does contribute 14% of the administrative costs of running Gateway. So you
So-
guys pay a portion and they pay a portion as well, but it's separate.
So the proposed park and recreations thing that is proposed, is Pelican money coming into that to pay for
It
it?
is not. They also are not allowed to use the pool or the soccer fields. They don't get the same perks that the rest of the residents of Gateway do because they don't pay in to take care of those amenities.
Will they be paying for the park though, the gymnasium, the pickleball courts?
They're paying for part of the administrative building, but not the park.
But not the park itself, and they won't be able to use. Will the park be open to the general public?
It should be determined by the
Yep.
board.
And so if our community is the only one paying for it, meaning the gateway communities, why would it be open to the general public?
So I'll answer part of the question. So for the facilities that we have now, the dog park is open to others. There's a fee. They'll pay a fee, a different fee. So the pool is open to general public, but they have to pay a fee. So if anybody from Pelican actually would like to use the pool, they could. However, they would have to pay, and I think it's $120 a year fee. So they can do it now for the amenities that we have. But the
I'm
board has
talking
to
about
decide.
outside of gateway.
Yeah, think about it. Somebody lives in Cape Coral and they want to utilize that pool, $120. $120 and they can utilize that pool for a whole year. They want to use the dog park, there's a fee for somebody that lives in Bonita Springs, they can use that.
Perfect. That's what I want. Thank you very much.
And Tom, the other thing, if I just, Pelican already has the pickleball courts, the tennis courts, the dog park, everything that we're proposing for Greater Gateway, they've already got.
Right. And so if Stony Brook didn't want to participate in any of that, could we opt out of that?
No,
And so we also have pools and tennis courts and pickleball courts and then as such, and we don't want to pay for the parks. I mean, I don't know, but I'm saying myself, I don't want to pay for it.
You don't have the failure of interconnectivity.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I want to know.
Our final comment, our public comment is from Ed Hedges regarding Pelican streetlight outages.
Ed Hedges, 10532 Azura. I'm working with several of the work groups on the GIS, but as part of the safety and security, we've been inventorying the streetlights along Pelican Boulevard and all of that. But back in first part of September, we had some incident that knocked out the lights on Pelican and Cypress Grove. And they got the contractor in and was able to get a few of the lights back on, but there's large stretches of those people that are still out and have been out. And I just wondered if we were, where we were at on that. I know there was a quote from West Coast Lighting, I think, that to get the Pelican, there's like 5,000 feet of cable that actually had to be replaced. Because it's all in very bad shape. I'm an electrical engineer that used to work for the electric utility, and I've been out trying to find where all the Pelican or gateway lights on Pelican and cycles are actually fed from, and what meters are actually serving them, so we know what the costs are. And it's been a real challenge to figure that out. Yeah. So I'm not sure we can even figure out what the actual cost of those lighting systems are to compare to a Florida Power and Light proposal to replace all of them. But just in my inspection of some of the infrastructure there, it's in really bad shape. And I think we need to move forward as quickly as possible with upgrading those streetlights and getting them replaced like y'all are here in Gateway.
What I would suggest, we're doing the same thing at the same time. I've got a phone call in to Nate with FPL, who's the guy that has the as-built drawings. I'm just trying to get a set of as-bills, because when you call in and you want to fix something, the first thing they ask you is what transformer number. How do I know what transformer when I don't have the as-bills and I don't know where it's connected? So he called me. That was a miracle. But I would suggest you get a hold of Nate at FPL and start with a set of as-bills.
The problem today is the boulevard lights that are Gateway owned and maintained that are out. And if you watch the Pelican for all Facebook sites, we had a wild boar hit a car on one stretch of it. Pedestrian almost got hit at one of the major crosswalks because it's dark and there's no lighting. So there's a growing safety issue. The part-timers are coming back now. And so the snowbirds are coming back. So there's going to be a lot more traffic on the roads, and it's very dark there at night. So
It's been very modest in what he's doing. We now have a GIS webpage that has every street light by number.
No, we've got all that. Those we don't have where the wires are at.
Well, nobody has that part.
So Ed, we'll follow up with Jen on the status of that. I know we've requested additional quotes because of the cost.
That'll be a PPAC item.
Yeah.
Yeah, and next week in PPAC, they should be the ones that will authorize or not to exceed them out, so that we can make the bills. Thank you for the work you're doing on it.
Great. I do not have any other people signed up for comment, and there's no one online that would comment. There are a lot of people online, but no one would comment.
Local achievements and recognitions, do we have anything?
I just want to make note that Tim Holland, Tuesday is his last day with the district. He's been with the district for 3 years. He served as our pool lead and then our Parks and Rec manager. And so we wish him the best on his future endeavors. So we are actively, to your point from the previous meeting, Carol, we are actively recruiting a Parks and Rec supervisor role.
All right. So no advisory committees items to report, approval of the minutes.
I would just like to comment that at the last Parks and Rec subcommittee meeting, they are going to start meeting twice monthly now instead of once a month, because their agenda items, their agenda is full. So they want to give due consideration to everything, and they're going to start meeting twice a month.
So the approval of the minutes, I do have one edit. It's line 36, the Lieutenant Vaughn, it should have said Vaughn, Vaughn. That's it.
Move to approve as amended.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda items,
Move to approve consent agenda items 9A, B, and C.
Second.
we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
If you're not admin items,
Oh, district engineer.
there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. Second time.
Oh.
Next meeting, yeah.
I do, yes.
We'll take it off just for you.
It's just a standard. Admin items, so you want to take it?
So, So we put out, 2 bids. This was, 2 bids for the ponds or lakes, that are scheduled for this current fiscal year. One of the bids we had to put back out because we didn't receive any proposals. This is the other one. And so, the recommendation, as recommended by Tetra Tech for the award with B&Z diving services and the not to exceed amount of 1.8 million, roughly 1.9 million. I will tell you that this exceeded the engineer's opinion of probable cost. But with the award, this is already approved through SRF, funded. This would get lakes 78 and 82 done during this dry season.
82 is Daniels?
Yeah, yes.
Seventy-eight's down there also.
Okay.
Looking for,
I'd make the motion to award the contract to the apparent low bidder, which was,
B&Z driving services.
thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Ed made the motion, I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Along that line, this week I went and looked at one of the ponds that B&Z Diving and specifically Brad has done over in, I think it's called the Colonnade. And instead of using number 4 stone, they're using shells. I was very impressed with it. It's been in for a couple of years, and the stability of it versus the stone look much better, looks much more natural. So it might be something that we want to look in and investigate as an alternative in the future, especially in the fact that access to number 4 stone is getting very, very slim.
so that came up during, I believe, one of the bids. I don't know if it was this one or the other one. We did request that they provide that as an alternative. But personally, I was not going to approve that without the board's consent. So if that is a viable option that you'd like for us to consider moving forward with future bids, we can put it in there as an alternative.
Engineer,
What does it look like it?
it's white shell,
Or the-
or shells, like a wash shell. And what they do is they put it down over a fabric, not Armamax. They don't use that. And they put it down to about 8 inches thick. When I went over there, I sort of like from the guy from Missouri showed me. We sat there and dug, and we went about 10 inches thick.
And it just gets
And
compacted and
it compacts like crazy. But when you walk on it, unlike where you can twist your ankle
This is more
on 4
stable.
stone, this stuff is much more stable. But it is it's a natural look.
Where's that, the Colonnade you said?
Under the
Where did you
category,
see it?
and under
The
the
Colonnade, I
category,
believe.
under the category of look before you leap.
Well, that's what
I
I'm saying.
also went around with Brad, and we went to 4 locations, and only one was marginally acceptable. So I would suggest that we all look at it, because I'll never vote for the shell. It looks terrible after time.
But well, Colonnade's been there 2 years. It looked pretty good. I'm saying right now, let's just have,
Is it option?
due diligence.
which we're, Stephen, look at it and come back to us with what the methodology of how it would be done. The one thing is that if number 4 stone gets to the point where you just simply can't get it, we're gonna have to have an alternative. Right now, it's coming in at a lot lower price, and our whole deal has been trying to get these ponds down lower and lower and lower in value. It certainly eliminates the need for the Armamax. This pond had, at the Colonnade that I saw, had escarpments of greater than 3 feet. I mean, it was horrible.
Yeah, I saw some.
And they put in a compacted fill, just like we do. And that, but instead of going with Armamax, they went with just like a filter fabric. And then they put this stuff on 8 inches thick. Where they have the need for littorals, which they didn't have evidently over there because they didn't do anything. What Brad suggested was, and I guess he's done it in one other spot, they put in like circular areas, like if you're putting littorals on a 1 foot square basis, they would put in like 4 inches of dirt, topsoil. Put the stone on that and then put the plant into the dirt and not penetrate and cut the fabric. He said that works, that's worked great. So it just depends upon whether you've got a need or a necessity for the littorals along the edge.
But it's not an either or of shell or the stone. I mean, with armor mix, any fabric membrane could have a stone. My objection is the appearance of the shell.
Yeah,
When you look at it, just, all I'm saying, beware.
yeah.
So-
I think the board should, the
Well-
board members should look at it, but I think we should have a discussion because the money is a big consideration.
So would you like for that to be on an agenda for discussion at a future date?
I think we ought to have a field trip.
Because we get, what?
Individually.
Individual field trip, yeah, I think each.
Oh, I already done.
I like to go. see
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I think everybody should.
It's an agenda item.
Go see it.
One, look at a variety with ages, that's all.
Yeah, even if it's just staff looking at, okay, here's what it looks like at the point of completion. This is 2-year, this is 4-year, this is 6-year. We
Absolutely.
can find that.
The longer it's there, the worse it looks. Sure, it's good functional. My appearance has not, my comments have nothing to do with functionality. But the
Just
aesthetics are
aesthetics.
terrible.
Anyway, that's it.
So please.
Yep, so like I said, the vendor is here. Stony Brook
I
made the.
don't think we voted on.
Did
We
it.
did.
Afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, I was discussing afterwards.
No, I think we had a motion.
I motion. I wrote down.
Right.
We have it.
You voted.
Okay.
I was gonna vote no because the only vote was all approved. I didn't say a word and I didn't hear negative, so I couldn't get it.
Okay, D.
So, again, this was the item that the HOA had originally started. They had done Pebblebrook Drive a couple of years ago. The same vendor did Pebblebrook Drive for them. I believe at the time the Stony Brook Advisory Committee authorized and oversaw that project in conjunction with the HOA. Given the O&M agreement, any project over $5,000, the district staff have to oversee. So this is at the request of the HOA, which Margaret, we can get you a copy of that. The contract, I mean, it's in here already, but we can get you that. If you have any questions, like I said, the vendor is here. You can ask her directly.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Carol, then Doug.
Pavement dressing conditioner. I'm not familiar with that term. How is that different from like seal coating? I mean, seal coating I'm familiar with because you can do that in your driveway.
So again,
I don't know what this is as opposed to.
I'm Connie Lorenz. I'm the president and owner of Asphalt Restoration Technology and the sole source distributor of pavement dressing conditioner, asphalt rejuvenator, also known as PDC for the state of Florida. It is a proprietary product. There are 2 other distributors in the state. One is the manufacturer. He'll bid out of Pennsylvania. The second contractor is Asphalt Management, who does all of the FAA and airports. And then I'm the little guy that does the homeowners and condos and stuff like that. What was the question?
Oh, I'm not familiar with.
Oh, the 2 different products, okay,
Dressing conditioner as opposed to what I am familiar with.
which is the water-based product.
Seal coating.
Okay, so seal coating is a water-based emulsion. It's either an asphalt or a coal tar-based emulsion that is 30 to 35% water with 2 to 3 pounds of sand per gallon. This is what you see at most of your grocery stores, a couple of the theme parks. And the best way to know it is the alligator, or well, we call it chicken wire cracking. So you see the drive lanes are bare and your parking stalls are coated, but they're really cracked. Or when they newly coat, you pull into a grocery store and you're doing about 1 or 2 miles an hour and your tires are squealing. Have you, yeah, where you're at a theme park and it's raining and you're in flip flops and you almost slip. Water-based products water seeks its own level. So the dangers of seal coating with communities is that 1, it creates, there's no friction, of course, but it also accelerates the deterioration of your pavement. Asphalt is oil-based, seal coating is water-based. Water and oil don't mix on your salad, so it's not going to mix on your roadways when you throw traffic on it and expect it to stick around for a bit. But the bigger problem is because it's a harder surface than your asphalt. When your asphalt goes to expand and contract, it can't, so it cracks in order to relieve that stress. So repeated applications cause those cracks to become larger and larger until eventually you have to mill and replace. What PDC is an oil-based product that's designed to replace the maltings that have been lost due to oxidation. So of all the things that are in asphalt, you've got your rock, your sand, which is your aggregate, and your binders is your tars and oils. Of your tars and oils, the only thing of that is your asphaltenes and maltines. Maltines is the only product that starts oxidizing from the moment your asphalt is mixed together at the asphalt plant because of the high heat of the temperatures. This product is designed to actually mimic those maltines, replump up the asphalt and extend the life of it. So with each application, you'll get 5 to 7 years additional life out of it. And then as far as the contract price goes, it is based off a per square yard price, which yours is about $2.12 a yard. To give you an idea of where that falls in the spectrum, seal coating goes for about $2 to $2.25 a square yard here. You'll apply it every 1 to 2 years because it wears faster. PDC is going down at $2.11, $2.12 a square yard. You'll get 5 to 7 years out of your first application, 7+ out of your second application. If you and I are still doing this at the third application, I failed at life. It is an overlay where you just come in and put a 1-inch overlay down. Is down here is probably running around 18. You guys are in a high neck of the woods. People like your income here. So you guys are probably seeing about $18 per square yard. And then on a mill and overlay where they actually come in and grind up the asphalt, haul that away, and then put new stuff down. At 1.5 inches, I'd probably say you're around 22, 24 yard. So you're saving about $20 a square yard on replacement. But you've got to look at the long-term. A lot of people kind of look at my immediate. And what I'm going to do, what this product does is it actually extends the life of it. We pay a higher price for a lesser quality product. So the asphalt that we used to put down, we used to get 30, 40 years out of 1 inch. We are now getting 10 to 12 years out of it. It's now the RAP, which is reclaimed asphalt products, which is crushed glass, recycled plastic, tires, roofing shingles. And the pricing increase that you've seen, insurance, trucking, aggregate shortage, gas, oil, insurance, employees. I can't even keep up. I've had 4 price increases in this year alone. And it's not because of the manufacturer, because all of a sudden the insurance caught up with everything. And then all of a sudden the insurance catches up with the trucking catches up with the fuel. So there's not a lot I can do about it. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Does the PDC fill cracks? I heard, little spider cracks, I understand. Well, how big a crack?
No, that would be required to crack fill. When you use a water-based coating, a seal coat, you can add, like I said, it's 2 to 3 pounds of sand per gallon is their standard mixture, but we have contractors in Florida that are adding 8 to 10 pounds of sand per gallon. And what it does is it'll fill in some of those minor cracks, but it's a temporary solution to a permanent problem. Your cracking that you have is your stress cracks because your subbase is oxidized, it's expanding.
I got all
So
that.
I would do, so no, it's not.
It's a PDC. What is
It's
it?
not, but if you were gonna start a crack fill program, you want to put the PVC down first so it can get into the cracks and condition those cracks. Remember, your asphalt's going to expand and contract. So we've actually had our product, we call it crack healing. So when you have finer cracks that are just starting to stress because of the weight of the track, this product softens while it cures. So it'll actually, your traffic will help push it together. And so we've actually seen crack reduction. The manufacturer wants me to say, oh, we eliminate cracks. It's crack heals. No.
So I guess the heart of my question, if you took an expansive road that was determined, we were going to use the PDC.
You're gonna have a crack if it's there.
Would you go in first and fill the bigger cracks?
No, I would come in, put the PDC down,
That's,
and then I would throw down the crack fill. I would wait 6 months. Let's see what PDC could do because it can heal. And right now, we're just coming out of rainy season. So when we're in rainy season, your roadways and your subbase is
you're
swollen.
talking way faster than I can keep. But anyway, you do have a second application called crack fill.
Well, crack fill is a hot melt, hot tar that gets
That's what I was
injected.
trying to get at.
Yeah,
So
that
there
gets
is a
injected
second
into, yeah, and that goes for about $1 a foot. A linear foot at 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch.
Okay.
So anything larger than 1 inch, you don't want to crack fill. Up north, we do that. Down here, it'll become a sticky tar mess.
Okay, Doug has a question.
Yeah, just really quick,
And
scope of this, Chelsea, this is all the roads minus what was done on Pebblebrook. All,
Only district roads, only side
only
streets.
district roads. So like the,
Less Pebblebrook, it doesn't include their clubhouse, it is only
Clubhouse.
all of the side streets in Stony Brook.
And loops,
wait, what's that again?
Side streets,
the loops.
Yeah, all the side streets, just not the clubhouse.
Or the community center.
Yes, same.
Which they already did it, I think, so.
Okay.
And they're black. They're black when it's done.
I personally don't care if it turns your property purple with pink polka dots. It's not put down for its aesthetic appeal, but it is a beautiful black. It looks almost like brand new asphalt. And the reason that I don't guarantee the aesthetic appeal is that a granite rock versus a lime rock versus a river rock provide 3 different color blacks. And so this gets into the, well, which black is it? Is it a gray black, a brown black, or a black black? And so we don't go into that because you have different paving companies that come in and use different mixes, especially if your community was built in stages. So we have done a community that had over 45 separate developments under the gate. And so some of them were complaining about our product wasn't as black as their black. And so we don't, it's put down for its conditioning ability. It'll turn it a beautiful, rich black color as you've seen. You have it here.
But within a stretch of road, you consider for that stretch,
Mhm.
that the road was put down.
I mean, I'll tell you personally, when we did it, it is black, and it's, you know, it's staged.
That's all I'm all in favor.
But I do have one question. Does anybody have any other questions?
It must be applied over concrete.
I have done it over concrete. Shockingly, it does really, really good. The manufacturer wants me to market it for concrete for salt erosion. And I honestly,
Well,
I've
the
done
basis-
it.
The basis of the question was a cul-de-sac.
Oh, is there?
Erosion, where the cul-de-sac gets the waves from the big trucks. And one community said, well, if we pulled out the macadam entirely and just put concrete, that would stop the waving. And they're probably correct. But in order to have a uniform appearance, we would want to code it subsequently. That's what I.
Yeah, then on something like that, as long as you're aware that it's going to oxidize slower. So your roadway will oxidize much faster than the concrete because it's.
Okay.
Okay, so then my question, it kind of goes back to what Margaret's saying. So I see that the price in here is 189. Then I was able to pull up the proposal from May 16 that was sent by Chris Capiello to the district, which it had the original, the signed one, that it had the original price as 114,382. To that, we had to add 19,450 for repairs and then $27,000 for sand. But that doesn't equal 189, that's around 160. So is that your question? Okay.
Right, that was when you all requested that you do was it 4 weeks with 2 days a week? Is that how it's going?
Oh, I don't,
Oh,
so
I believe-
for any of, I don't, I'm just going to the price, so the price.
Oh, here it is.
That's what I had for May, you know, and it was signed by Chris and I think Gary as well, Gary. And then I know from that time, the only additional was the $27,000 for sand. But that addition does not equal to 189, I guess that's. That's my
Organizations. So instead of us coming in and doing 9 consecutive days, like 5 on first week, 4 on the next week, it's 2, 2, 2, 2. So I have to
does that answer your
mobilize 8
question?
times.
And
Okay.
that changes the.
That changed, yeah,
Okay,
I don't
it's
live
like
in Orlando.
$4,000, I think. to-
Yeah, it's like 35.
They have to come out from line, so
They
it's
come
a
from
logistical expense.
Mhm.
Which means it's an opportunity if we somehow.
It's an opportunity if you guys wanted to tighten it up.
What originally what the vendor wanted it, but I guess the feedback was from the community that they didn't want it that way.
Well, the community knows their pay.
So you guys are good with it?
I assume we are. I hadn't been, I wasn't
wanna
involved
just-
in any, I asked about the price, because I knew. the price.
I've got questions. Pete.
So.
I'm not voting for it, I'll tell you that right now.
Let me,
Okay, so the
so
direction,
we met with Connie and what was the other?
George,
George. 6 weeks ago.
6, 8 weeks ago, yeah, it's a while back.
And so we, and discussing, asked how they would mobilize and how the project would be handled. One of the very quickly apparent things was, you can't drive on it for three days?
No, 24 hours. It's, if we finish, like we finish by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll open up the roadways the next morning at 8 a.m. If for some reason there was a possibility that something wasn't cured, my guys would cone off that area. They wouldn't go to the next area unless that area was ready to be open. So out of the concerns of that, based off of resident opinions, is where we had decided that I guess is where it hit, this was George and,
So these are long side streets. You have large,
yes.
so you're displacing all of these homes for 24 hours that they have to park elsewhere. The only place that they can park elsewhere would be at their clubhouse, and there's limited spots. So you have school, you have garbage you have to take into account. I mean, they're technically public roadways, but for the most part, you're disrupting every single side street that there has at the same time, and that is not feasible, truthfully. That's a lot of coordination and communication, and so it was easier bites by doing multiple mobilizations. That way there's ample opportunity to commute, the HOA to commute with the residents, and have them shift to the clubhouse, etc.
So that's the difference between the 160 to 189 is the additional mobilization, and then
I think it's one additional mobilization that was.
I'm not sure, I think that, I just own the company, you and George have been negotiating back and forth on things. Did I offer you guys the golf cart to use?
I don't know.
Okay,
So you do one half of the street, and right down the middle?
no, I recommend that you do full streets
Okay, so that's
because
what you're
it's,
saying about residents.
yeah, and so we had done a layout because it's, and when you have communities like this and you do half roadways on some of your roadways, people will not say uncle, and they'll start driving up on people's driveways or their grass or their mailboxes and that. And so we did a layout that pretty much only the entryway of some of the loops, not just the cul-de-sac, some of the loops, that entry will be half and half, but it'll be very, communication is the key here.
Maintenance of traffic is a nightmare on this.
Every single one of my employees are MOT certified, so yes,
You've got a bid that includes maintenance. of
yes, we do.
traffic. It's in
That,
there.
that included, that is part of that.
That is also part of this.
Amazon, FedEx, US Mail, all of those, how are they gonna get in there for that day?
We're hoping that the residents will cooperate and that they,
So let's get back, this is sole source product.
Mhm.
This is a sole source.
it
product.
is.
Tony, are we allowed sole source products in CDD without getting an engineer's opinion that it is as a necessity?
We don't need to have determination of necessity. We can make valid determination at the staff level and board level that it's sole source. But secondly, the dollar amount, 189, I think it is below the mandatory threshold for competitive solicitation, which is 195, I believe, for maintenance activities. So it is appropriate to solicit one proposal.
Well, let me, the HOA did attempt to solicit additional proposals. Atlantic Southern provided the seal coating option, which is apples and oranges. And then there was another vendor that just was not interested in bidding. So they did make the attempt at getting the three requested proposals.
So we,
It's away. We've covered it on a number of times.
the spec, was it written sole source? Was it written around this product?
This company was provided to the district that the HOA wanted to pursue.
it came that way to us. That's what I was trying to say in the beginning.
My question is that did any
We
other
did not
company,
write
no other
specifications.
company do it?
We did not write specifications for this.
How does the bidder bid then if it doesn't have specifications?
Again, this was brought to us by the HOA that they wanted to utilize this company, which the district.
This is
used in
obviously,
the past.
this is, from an engineering perspective, this is an El Cheapo route of doing work that needs to be done. I can guarantee you, I will find one engineer that will back this as a long-term.
They can bring it in
I'm
from Disney.
talking engineers that are good engineers.
Disney World.
But I don't want to get into it right away, because I'm gonna vote against it, so there's no doubt about that. But you
But
need,
lack of understanding doesn't mean something is wrong or cheap. It's just you're not understanding the process.
let me clarify some things. We're bidding about 20,000 square yards over at Gateway right now, conventional way. And the prices aren't, it's $12 a square yard.
For an overlay,
$12 for a square yard.
for a 1-inch overlay.
Well, for a 1-inch overlay, removing the material, putting in the new material, including maintenance of traffic, the whole 9 yards. We just bid it and we're doing the work right now. So I'm
For
not.
$12 a yard, a mill and overlay.
Yes, $12 a yard. Yep. Show you the bid tabs. I've had that same people tell me that it can even be done cheaper, which they were wrong. I've got the bid tabs. We can do it. What is your mill thickness of the product?
Goes down at 6,500 square, or 6,500ths of a gallon per square yard.
Okay, so what does that work out to thickness?
Millimeter.
It's a mill.
It's penetrates. This says it's not a thickness. You're confusing it with seal coating. It penetrates in about 1/4 of an inch.
Here's why I'm bringing that up. I drove every road in Stony Brook this afternoon before the meeting. I don't know how you're going to handle the far back road in Stony Brook has got to have major structural work done on it before you put in a product. You put this product in and that same thing's going to come right through. It's a waste of money.
Well,
Absolute
so
waste of money.
can I clarify one thing real quick? So prior to this proposal coming in, Connie and her company came in and recommended certain asphalt repairs that needed to occur prior to this project going down.
That's what I was gonna ask next.
They provided that assessment and you guys actually completed those a couple weeks ago.
Yes,
But he's-
Anticipating,
Where I'm at, I saw patches on that far back road going to the west. I saw patches. Some of them 8, 12 inches wide and 6 feet long. I'm talking right in front of the Nate mailbox. There's about a 3-inch dip in the road that goes completely across the cul-de-sac. You aren't going to fix that. You're gonna have to dig it out. To me, it's a structural failure at the base of the road.
sounds like you have an underground infrastructure.
How's that going to be handled? Because going into doing this is putting perfume on a pig. It ain't gonna work. That's why an engineer should have been involved in this. And for that reason, I'm categorically voting no to go with this
I just
methodology.
wanted clarification. So I know how it was done in my community, and I don't know if that's how it was done at Stony Brook. I did reach out to Chelsea either today or yesterday, asking if the repairs were done already. So if the repairs are done, then fine. But if the repairs are done and then Ed has identified areas of concern today, then that concerns me. So I tried to pull up the information because I know when we did for us, they provided in the areas that the repairs were needed.
they did that.
Okay, so I couldn't pull that up here.
That
I
was
wanted
about,
to see if the area that Ed's talking about, it was noted
That-
on the repair recess here.
That purple line right there,
This
go
one?
down to that cul-de-sac. At the very end of the cul-de-sac on the south side, there is a structural failure of the road. And you'd have been Stevie Wonder not to see that.
so Connie's team did provide that a separate proposal, which I think was like $8,900 or something around there. So that was under my threshold for approval. And so we approved that and they made the necessary repairs that they identified as part of this project, the first step to this project a couple weeks ago. So if there's additional ones, then that's something we'd have to go look at. to-
Actually, one of your residents was gracious enough to forward over some pictures that he was concerned about and was greatly appreciative. Some of them are not necessarily deeming to be corrected because they're survey markers. And I had a discussion with him that the edge issues that he's talking about, I agree that they should be corrected. Some of them are a little minute, but when you come from different parts of the country, things that look more intense here versus there. And so we have agreed that, is George meeting with you on Tuesday, or George is meeting with somebody on Tuesday to come back and revisit the repairs that were pointed out prior to
Probably.
going.
Well, you've got
Sorry,
numerous
probably
man-
Daniel.
You've got numerous manholes in Stony Brook, like the streets, where the road has failed around the manhole.
Are they cracked or they've actually
They're
depressed?
depressed. And this isn't gonna do anything for that.
But it's not the manhole that, the depression is because the hardscape for your manholes and drain basins are set in concrete.
When you
And the asphalt
you repave it, you bring those up to that.
Well, you don't bring them up to level, the asphalt compacts and the concrete doesn't, so the asphalt has compacted and made an impact bump over the manholes. Some communities come in and do an 8x8 or a 10x10 repair in order to reduce the impact while they wait to do an overlay.
That's exactly what we.
Yeah, so if you want to go through and replace all of your manholes and do an 8x8 or a 10x10
Make sure
repair,
the residents know that that dip and that bump you hit on every one of your manholes.
I will go look at that.
It's
'Cause I
not going to
want to see
change one
that.
iota.
I mean,
Just isn't going to
Just- I understand Ed's concern, and I think if it was our intent to have these roads long-term, I would definitely think we should do diligence, but the path that we're going, being able to hand those roads over, it's gonna be Stony Brook's responsibility moving forward sooner rather than later, I hope. So if their due diligence isn't met, then it's gonna be their
As long as they,
What's the burden?
as long as they acknowledge, all I'm saying is I recommend from an engineering perspective. I don't
Yeah, I
know
know
if
what you're
engineer
coming
would
from.
sign off on this, so I'm not, that's not gonna change my mind.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go with this, somebody needs to get a release that nobody's gonna hold us responsible for the things that are bad when the turnover occurs, because I don't wanna hear it. This is not the way you do it. You go in and you do the standard conventional way, you peel it off and you repave it, you fix the repairs, the structural repairs. It's just a
What do you do with a
healthy way to
road
do it.
that's 200 feet long? And there's maybe 35 feet up to 200 feet that are a problem. Either waves or cracks or whatever.
Well, it depends upon,
What,
well, what you
Let
don't
me
do,
finish
you
the
don't do
question.
resurfacing until you first make a decision that you need to do resurfacing. Those
So we
roads.
have an issue right now. We have areas. Pelican has been wrestling with it recently. And our prior history was, we either did a mill and grind or we did nothing. Okay, that's kind of where we have been. So right now, we're at a part where we have a lot of cul-de-sacs and turnarounds that have some significant problems. So now we're approaching the possibility of going out and doing spot repairs. Okay, so if we go and do a spot repair, whether it's concrete or asphalt or whatever we do, mill and grind a little bit. But we want the whole road when we're done to look uniform. This might be an attractive alternative to totally redoing the road.
And you're totally correct. It is the word that most engineers use. It is an aesthetic project. That's all it is. It's not a structural project.
I
And
don't
anybody
know-
that says that it's got a life equal to, once I do a mill and grind, I know I'm going to get 20 years more.
But
And
the
I don't have to do
alternative
anything
is,
with it.
do you want to do a mill and grind to leave the rest of the road alone for just pieces? I'm not sure we want to do that.
No, it's somebody's got to go in. It's just like in our community. We have an infrastructure committee. We went road by road, cul-de-sac by cul-de-sac. We've rated them all as determining what needs to be done. And we have a plan over the next 20 years.
We do the very same thing. The problem
And
is-
you just budget for it. That's
Okay, but wait, well, may not be that simple. The problem is, in the analysis that Tetra Tech did for us, we will be spending $400,000 a year for the next 5 years. And then, of course, there'll be other roads that pop up. If we can do that same kind of repair and get a couple extra years out of it by just doing sections and then subsequently putting something like this PAC on it, that might be a more cost-effective alternative. Not the same as mill and grind, but we're not paying the mill and grind cost.
I totally understand. I've said my face on it.
Okay, so-
We're not perfect.
I think we got all feedback. My only question, and I guess Ed brought it up, and I didn't think about this because we didn't go into this type of conversation yesterday at our meeting with the attorneys in Stony Brook. If we go ahead and approve this, and I guess there would be a question for Joe and their board, if we go ahead and approve this and pass this, and in 6 months to 9 months, we're all set to turn over the road, are they gonna come over here and say, we're not taking until you fix this, this and that? Because, so that's my question, like, I don't want that happening, me going and approving it, and clearly, you know, right now, nothing is wrong, that, you know, everything is good, and then, I'm not talking about 3 years down the road, I'm talking about within the year.
I can't,
They're gonna come here, so that's something for us to think about.
This is, period.
well,
So that's what I wanna make sure, and can they ask for that, Tony? So that's my question to you, can they suddenly take the position, Stony Brook, and say, we won't take over unless you bring it to the conditions X, Y, and Z?
They could try to do that. I suggest we get a formal action by them now that they accept it as this condition. And if, but hopefully you would not have a future board reject that or modify it. So I think that would be an appropriate thing for the record to have that. That they endorse this project and this product, and that we, the district, and they know that we, the district, will be acting in reliance upon their consent to this particular
This
activity.
would not be a basis for a turning down of a turnover.
Joe, you willing to come and say that for the record?
And I think we.
Yeah, you can come over and, yeah, or Margaret, either or.
so,
Yes,
but
one.
while he makes his way up here, this project would be funded out of the Stony Brook fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
This is totally all for Ed. We know exactly what it doesn't do and then what it does do. We understand there's no structural repairs going on. We understand we're trying to extend the life, as Bob said, of the existing service we have. If there was to be a road repair right now done, we would have to pay for it anyway. I don't see why we'd be able to go after you guys and make any kind of claim.
Joe, I just don't want to have residents coming in after the fact, thinking that they paid $187,000 and all they got is black road surface. That's aesthetic.
There's
I've been down this
more
road
than that.
many times.
Yeah, but there's a little bit more to it than that. We did, as was discussed previously, the main road, Pebblebrook Boulevard, and we did that road alone simply, and it's the highest traffic road, to see what the impact was and what the results were. And after over 2 years, I would say we were happy with it and we thought it was worthwhile going forward. Nothing more than that.
Okay, so then I guess I just want to put it on the record that. You gonna say it? I'll have you say it.
We will not hold you responsible for any unseen damages or problems onto the road. As I said before, it would have been our problem anyway. It would have been coming out of the 004 fund if we had.
Okay, that's.
No, I would suggest that he says we means the Stony Brook Master Association.
Yeah.
And then you,
Yeah, what is
and
it?
then you're representing, you have the authority to act on behalf of the association.
Well, there's two of us here right now, that's all. But,
Yeah, and so I suggest also that we do a follow-on,
actually, there's three of us here right now.
that any approval is to be approved, be conditioned upon receipt of a letter that I'll prepare, that be signed by them, that they acknowledge that the board is going ahead with this approval based upon the fact that the association wants it, agrees to it, and will not utilize this as any basis for rejecting
No transfer.
or requiring additional upgrades.
Keep it short and sweet.
Small fun.
Okay.
Joe, it's Tony.
It'll be one page.
Okay,
I'll try.
okay. Are we good?
Yep, I'll make the motion to approve. Item 11B. Payment address and conditioner in Stony Brook at the amount of one, is there not to exceed in here or
Make sure that it's just the lump sum.
We have the motion.
in the lump sum amount of
Oh,
189?
whoa, not that one. Not that one. Huh. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, the contract says 189,995.
Not to exceed amount.
No, you don't have to say that.
It's
It's lump sum.
It is. In the lump sum amount of 189,995. I need to add the,
Yeah, subject to, the Stony Brook Gateway Master Association agreeing to not raise any issues concerning the roadway condition the time the district conveys it.
that's it.
I'll second.
Let's call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I,
4-1.
Is there timing when this will be done?
January. That's what George said.
Yes, yeah.
After the
Was to revisit the repair, some other additional repairs that were pointed out, and then
Okay,
30 to 45 days. Is that what you need from me?
yeah, we're good.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next item.
So this is the statewide security contract, breach of contract. It's my understanding that the vendor, the owner of the company is here. If you have any questions, but as you all know, this is the second instance that somebody from the district has been denied access to Stony Brook at the Master Association. A letter was sent to statewide security back in June, and then subsequently a letter was sent the end of October regarding the most recent incident. It is a direct breach of contract, so there are 4 options here for resolution. We did meet with the Stony Brook HOA members yesterday, and like Margaret said, vocalized their preference for option 1. There are option 2 would be to cancel the contract with a 30-day notice contingent upon finding alternative access control vendors. I did receive 2 different quotes from 2 other different vendors that are locally represented within the community. I think Ramco is one of them, and Domestic Protection Services. In the event that that is the direction that you would proceed. And then the third option is have the HOA amend the O&M agreement, have the HOA take over the oversight of security contract. And well, that's an option that came up yesterday that we spoke about, that's not listed here. The third option would be for the HOA to take over and pay. And the fourth one would just be to cancel it and leave it be.
I have a question like to ask Joe before we go any further, and I think it'll get the bear out of the bucket.
Joe,
Tarzan.
Joe, would you come to the podium?
Go Tarsha.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I live in it.
I can.
So identify yourself for us.
Get tickled.
No. Thank you, Ed. Joe, just identify yourself.
Okay, Joe Tardy, statewide security.
Joe, I think we can get this solved real quick, like Are you aware that those roads in Stony Brook are public roads?
Yes, absolutely.
Then you're also aware then at the public roads, you cannot ask person for his ID.
In order.
You don't have any authority to do that.
Yes, they can do fine.
You, you can ask, but I've got a couple of people that have already called me and said, if you demand that they do it, they'll file suit against you and against our HOA. And they are in a political position. We don't want that. We don't need that. Why do we continue to ask for the ID and almost demand it of the people?
Well, we ask
Don't
for-
have that authority.
We have the authority to ask for an ID. Somebody has a right to deny it. However, I just want to be clear on something. Our training policy, when we take a person in who's going to work on that account, they get hands-on, one-on-one training with the site supervisor. They're given the post orders in its entirety to read. It is read to them. They made sure they understand it. The training officer is the one now goes back and signs that this individual is clear on it. They know what they have to do. We make a paper available for the guard that's going to be working there saying that they understand that they can't turn anybody away and they have to.
So they know that then.
Yes.
So if
On
there's-
top of that, I'm sorry, there's a sign posted to the door. So every time they have to swing that door open, this is in their face to say you must
You pass that on.
let everybody in. So as in any other business,
Why would the turnaround? Why
We
did-
have 12
Why have we had this issue on more than one occasion?
we have on average, on any given week, 12 people that work there. We've had 2 people that I've had to fire because of inappropriate actions. I think you'd be pretty much in agreement with me that no business has ever not had a bad employee. It happens. You fire me, you're gonna bring another company in, you still run a risk of having a bad employee. Gateway Services, if you guys ever had to fire somebody, it happens. That's part of life, part of business. I work diligently to make sure that it doesn't happen. But sometimes it happens, it falls through the cracks. It's not because I laid back on my laurels. It's not because we didn't do our due diligence. It's because people are human and that's the way they are.
So you have a captain that is in charge of your crew. your
That's
team.
correct.
And he makes it clear to them, you can ask for the ID, but if they don't, you let them go in.
That's
No-
correct.
No hassling, no nothing.
That's correct.
What my position on this is, there, whether it's been one or a couple isolated events, that from what I understand, it was managed within a timely manner, at least from what I understand from the HOA. I am content with staying in line with what the HOA, what their preference would be as far as keeping the contract in place. I think it's up for renewal or it expires in December.
September.
September of next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I'm glad that you showed this because this is important. It's one of the things that I was gonna recommend is that this be posted.
Joe, when was that posted?
That's what I was gonna ask.
That was posted at the first incident.
Okay, and the thing you referenced to that the officers now have to sign for Stony Brook?
That
When
was,
was that implemented?
the training stuff has always been in place.
No, but the one specifically for.
I think on the first incident.
So what I would recommend is we keep this posted. I would also recommend, and I don't know if Pelican does this exactly, but I think on the wall, very visible, what is the order of operation? One, someone pulls in, you ask for identification.
Doug, can I stop you real quick? Because we're not in the business of telling the vendors how to do their job. We have a contract that says what we expect of them. And the expectation is to follow that. And we're gonna make it a point, and we discussed yesterday that the HOA was gonna visit the actual office, the guardhouse itself. We're gonna make it a point to go tomorrow, but I'm not in the business of telling them how to do their job. That's what the contract's for.
Well, I can tell them whatever I want.
Yeah, no,
So what I would recommend is that what's visible in the guardhouse, as a reminder, this is a great reminder. Matter of fact, it's more than a reminder, it's the rules to follow. But then here's the order of operation. We ask for ID, see if they're called in. If the individual does not provide an ID or does not have a specific person that they're going to see, then you were very explicit on you're allowed to travel on the public road. If you come to a stop, you're not allowed to go on any private properties, which is very similar to what Pelican does, right, Bob? Like they're very explicit on, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to grant you access. That access allows you access to the public roads. You are not allowed to be on private property. If you come to a complete stop in anywhere, then you're considered trespassing and we would ask you to leave. Like to have that very simply, those 5 orders of operation called out, so there should be no confusion. And to Chelsea's point, this all should be in,
And it
it
is.
should have an operation already.
That doesn't help if it's just for the guard to see. All the people coming in need to see that.
Well, I'd rather than not see the protocols. And
So would I.
Well, the issue is, how do you go in there and, stop at the stop sign and you get arrested for stopping at the stop sign? Or if you pull up to somebody that says, that mean you have to park on the street because you can't go in a guy's driveway to go visit? I mean, come on, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't-
I'd rather not have all those posted. I think, again, those are technically the security protocols.
Keep it simple.
That are exempt from public
That's
records.
what you do. That's what you do at Pelican, right?
We do, advise them that they can only stay on certain roads. It's not been an issue unless Carol's for some.
And also, this is just, you know, is
Yeah.
to deter people coming in the community for the wrong reasons.
One nickel's worth, control. I heard about some problems. So just for the hell of it, I drove over there last week. Went to the guard, gave my license, said I'm from Gateway and I'd like to look at your files. He said, have a great day. That's sampling of one. But I mean, that person obviously, that was on a Friday, I think. That would work. They could have been bad out of it.
And trust me, I'm just as critical about Stony Brook and the access to the roads, and I'm sure the board members would, you know, would probably say the same thing. But I do think I think there's some isolated incidents which are gonna happen probably anywhere. I think our recommendation is to make sure we have some governance and we do some spot checks like we've been doing to make sure that Joe is following the policy. And more importantly, and I talked to a couple of board members and I asked them explicitly, is it Stony Brook HOA's position that the roads are public and we cannot restrict access? And they all said yes. So they should be supporting our position with the gatehouse and the security company.
May I just add something? So when this incident happened, it happened on a Sunday. I was out of town. Flavia called me and I didn't have my phone. I was at the game and it's in my truck and it took me about 10 minutes to call her back. I dealt with it right away. And for that, I am truly sorry my employee was such a jerk. I mean, the gross misconduct on his part, I was embarrassed. I was truly
Listen,
embarrassed.
I said this to them yesterday at the meeting. I said this to Chelsea. I said, I fell for Joe on his voice, his tone. You couldn't apologize more. And I get all that.
I was mad. Oh, I was that color red. I was mad.
I mean, I got it. There was nothing you could do that would have helped me in because you told him you're the owner of the company. He still said no.
And he didn't
So-
say it, no, he said it with quite a few expletives involved.
Yeah, well,
And it made me even more mad because the lack of professionalism on his part.
Well, and the last thing I'll say quickly is,
They've been trained by the captain.
oh, yes, everybody does.
So he just
They have to sign.
the rules.
Yes, it was a one-off thing. I mean,
and the last thing I'll say here is hopefully in the near future, this
it'll be a non-issue.
won't even be our concern. Won't even be our concern. We will be out of the Stony Brook Road business.
so I do want to bring it up. I just think it's, and I said that when they told me that the gentleman was terminated, and I think I said that to you. I said, well, that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted him to be trained, because that's what he
I
wanted.
mean, it was just, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but if it was just the error of not letting him in, tree training was
Yeah.
one thing, but that was just gross misconduct.
But
There was no
that's
coming
your
back.
decision, and I'm gonna respect your
Yeah.
decision. Decided to terminate him, I'm gonna respect it. It's not something I wanted. My concern is that up to even yesterday, and that doesn't necessarily go to Joe, but I just want to bring it up to yesterday, there was no clear, concise understanding and agreement between all parties. And I'll tell you why. I'm not gonna go in detail, but there were still signs as of yesterday saying that vendors are not allowed, and there was another sign restricting people from coming posted in there. That has nothing to do with him because he doesn't just go and post. In addition, the week prior, I did get emails from 2 other HOA board members asking what kind of business I was doing, if it was personal or if it was CDD. That tells me that there's a lack of understanding because it didn't matter.
Okay.
So I do agree that this was definitely one, but I think it's a lot. And personally, to me, I feel like it's the HOA telling them, no, don't let them in, or is it, like, I just wanna make sure it's clear, the contract is between Gateway Services and statewide, and that's kind of how it should go. And same thing, I think they brought it up yesterday, that you had them sign, you know, going forward, and I think that's a great idea, but that's something that would be great if the district would have been told that, so we would, instead of the HOA, like, hey, listen, those are the steps that we have taken to make sure that this doesn't happen. So I think there's also an opportunity for communication with
Yes.
the district. It doesn't make sense, but.
I'll be honest with you, usually by this time of day, I get to my desk at like 6:30 in the morning. So by the time this time of day, I'm home, and I apologize. I really should make it my business to come to these meetings more often because I am your vendor. But for that, I'm sorry to the board that it happened, that we're all wasting time. I won't say wasting, that we're dealing with time on this. And like I said to you specifically, because you were the one involved, that I really am deeply, deeply sorry. But there was nothing done with any type of malice. I go out of my way to make sure that these people do follow the rules. And I have a management team that's doing it as well. But when the buck stops, it's gonna stop with me. So, and I've dealt with several of you on other things professionally, and it's never been an issue. And, you know, so I just hope that you would not throw the baby out with the bathwater or
Okay.
something.
And I just want to clarify with Margaret, so the HOA's position was yesterday, which stands today, is to allow, it's option one. And if it does happen again, termination will take place. I think that's what
That's what your option was.
no, I'm asking you, because that's what was yesterday, but today was just option one. I just want to make sure like it's,
Yes,
okay.
yes. And I just want to show you that I did go into the gatehouse and I pulled down the signs. I pulled down the list. I pulled down everything that said people
Don't let
can't
them
be
in.
let in.
Thank you.
It's in my hand.
Only copy?
And I didn't come for me, that's I.
Right, so staff is looking for direction on the, Tony, you have anything to add?
No, I think it was a good dialogue. Yesterday was a very good conversation.
I think yes.
Make the motion, we accept option one.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. A call to vote, all in favor, say aye.
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 I do have one question.
Now you have a question.
No, well, it's operationally, so in a case of Mrs. Smith is going through a divorce with Mr. Smith. Mrs. Smith has a restraining order. When they bring it up in the computer, it says restraining order, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I'd rather have that conversation
Right.
outside the board.
Oh, that's fine.
That gets into processing procedures for access control, which,
Well, I'm also concerned,
well, it's access control, and I don't think it's something that should be broadcast generally
okay,
as to what that policy is gonna be.
Okay.
Joe, we can set up
I think
a,
our, we have a code for assessment on access control.
we can set up a conference call with Tony and yourself.
Well,
yeah,
That's that question.
no, I said that I'm just looking for direction, because I want to be outside of
Let's
this.
set up a call, so,
yeah, we had a conversation about that yesterday, Joe.
yeah.
So I'd rather do that offline. I don't want-
I'll
No, not a problem, I,
shoot you an email tomorrow.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for
Yeah,
coming.
take care, thank you.
Stragglers, so.
So this is,
I know there are a number of these parcels that are in Pelican Preserve. Is there anything not in Pelican Preserve?
yes.
Yeah, someone with
Yes.
gateway.
So
They would-
let me,
So can we also give those parties weeks to review them?
Well, let's listen to the, just so there's not a motion. I think there's just looking for direction. So that might give us the time we need.
so we have been, since I started here, I've lived with Lipa every single day, 8
He
hours.
gets an office and access.
Yeah.
A virtual office.
So there are a handful of what we call the, straggler parcels that are still in WCI's name that either need to be conveyed to an HOA, a master association, to the district, whomever. So between staff, Tony, not Lenore, Charles Mann, we have put together this comprehensive list of, or a package, I would say, of parcels that are still in their names, and we're looking for your input and feedback on, do we want to accept these? Most of which are road rights of ways or ponds that may still be tied to bonds that we hold as part of specifically the newer Pelican stuff. Some of these are the road like was, I want to call it Girl Scout again. What's the road?
It's Girl Scout.
Girl Scout roadway, that's another one that's sitting with them. So Charles Mann, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tony. WCI is looking to provide a comprehensive package to the district. And that way we're not nitpicking one parcel at a time. He just wants to know, send me the list the district wants to take over, and we'll provide the package and then be done with it.
Is he gonna do it via quick claim deeds?
Generally, that's what it'd be by quick claim deed and have a title search report and affidavits also. And recognizing that on these, you know, what WCI Lennar is not going to. We take them as is, whatever condition they're in, that we in. And that's one that can, well, also not on this list, and they can thank me for it.
Thank you,
We call them from the list, those properties that are still in WCI's name that may be more appropriate going to the community association master because of the way the dedications read and where they're located. It's like the RV lot is still in the name of WCI as far as the title. And there's a couple other parcels. So those we didn't put on here, but that's like a stage 2, that's more for PPCS.
So what I was.
I mean, that's Chelsea.
So what I would suggest we do is just, let's scroll one by one and we can say yes, no, or table. Yes, no, or table.
Can you roll slower?
I want to get back to the
Thank,
beginning.
thank Laura for that one. This is the roadway tract as part of New Pelican. And
That's necessary.
I believe that's necessary. So I would recommend we take this one.
But as an example, also, some of these were in prior packages. But because of a number of other issues, the board did not consider accepting it. And get Chelsea alluded to that by virtue of some of the bonds in favor of the district for infrastructure based upon the district's approval under the permit criteria manual are still outstanding. And it might be because of some other issues the district has with regards to a particular community.
So that just fell through the cracks.
Right. These are things that fell through the cracks.
Well,
Is there something about this that is time sensitive?
Charles, Mann, WCI, they want to be done with it. We've literally been talking about this for over a year.
Okay, I understand, but if we waited for 2 weeks, is that okay? I mean, is there some reason it has to be done
I
today?
prefer you pull out the parcels that you'd like to delay and let's.
Do the rest.
Yeah, and again, it's not a matter of, so the ones in Pelican Reserve are generally not ones that slipped through any cracks. Some of them were purposely delayed as far as conveyance.
And you'll like
A couple may
Prado.
have been overlooked.
Prado's a perfect example. We still hold the bond for Prado. We haven't accepted conveyance of said parcels. So that's why they're still listed in WCI's name. Perfect example.
But like the VO one, you'll get to that. That was one of the very first.
The only ones that we should pull, consider is in Pelican. Is in Pelican. So let's proceed with everything else. If you.
I can show you this year.
Yeah.
So I would just pull those two and then.
Pull those, let's move forward the
Those
rest.
for everything else. and then- Yeah. Okay, so you want to make that motion? Or you want to give that direction to you? You want a direction to just move forward with everything else except items 19, line item 19 and 20?
Okay, can we ask Nancy, are those the only 2 that you have concerns over?
That's the only 2 that are.
That's the way to do this fast.
Haven't had a chance to look at it.
Those were 2 that I noted, but like I told you, no one else in the community has been made aware of this. And I would like to at least talk with the rest of our board of directors. That's why I thought the 2 weeks maybe wasn't unreasonable.
So from a staff perspective, the majority of these are roadways or ponds, which we already have the majority of in Pelican. The 2 that she's calling out are landscaping areas that are the entrance, which I could see that would be in question, why the HOA would want to take those.
If I'm sitting here, I don't think they're gonna object at all, but why not give the 2 weeks? It's not a big.
I mean, why don't we just,
Let's just table this, but I'm gonna recommend we table the Pelican.
Just the Pelican.
Just the Pelican. We'll take them one at a time. This one I'd like to table. The table this one. That's my proposal.
The entire item until 16?
No, this item. This specific picture, the pre.
Yeah, 19 and 20.
Bob, why don't we just postpone everything for 2 weeks?
Well, because there's some that aren't covered.
I understand.
That's all. We're going through one at a time.
But maybe there are people in those areas that would at least like to know about it.
And,
I mean, to
I
me,
mean, if their association.
We've been doing this for years.
so that's my question. Who is it that needs to know? I mean, the agendas are there, they're posted. I mean, on the same token, when a Gateway resident comes in and says, well, nobody knew, if they knew, the agendas are posted, it's
for a
there,
week,
like,
yeah.
you know, we
Take the
we
opportunity.
didn't take the opportunity, then that's not on us, and you can ask us, and we can make that decision, but I think we take the route that we have always
So the
taken.
district.
That's that's what I think as well, yeah.
So this very first one is the Pelican Road, we defer. Back in 2 weeks, what make you see? What's the next one?
The only thing is this connects other district roads to other district roads. That's all I'm saying.
Well, what you're saying is that if Lennar wants to put this in a package, we're waiting 2 weeks to put it in a
Right.
package.
Well, Lennar is at the point that they're ready to all or nothing, whichever ones that we want, or they're going to, what do you call it, tax certificate sale.
Well, tax deed sale, but that takes years for that to happen.
But still,
You know,
that's the path it's going, if we
people
don't
can-
take
And
action.
people can bid on the tax deed sale and own it and try to. put
That-
it
Well, I sure wish Lennar was just as interested in resolving all the Pareto issues with their own drainage. They've been at that for 2 years. I'm not worried about their road yet. Give it 2 weeks. We want to do them one at a time, or you just want to delay the package? I'm open to either.
If we,
I move to table, agenda item 11D for 2 weeks. To the next meeting, the entire thing.
I'll second.
discussion.
Okay.
Does this, if we have these out, what makes a difference if we do the others? Because we can't take them to them as a
Yeah,
package.
at this point,
So that's what I was saying, if it's all or nothing, then,
Nothing for 2 weeks.
so that's the motion that,
And they've not put out any mandate that we have to have it tomorrow or the next day.
They're ready to wrap this up.
Yeah,
Yeah, then we'll have a decision in 2 weeks. And there's nothing in addition we need to do on our side, right?
Tony is,
well, I want to continue it we're gonna get to that, but we only have 45 minutes that day.
I said yes or no, like that day.
Yeah, that's what
That should be-
that sounded enough.
Tony, what did you say?
No, when I get down to my report, and, the next item with regards to the board line matter, I'm gonna request continuation to next week, but it's only gonna be a 45-minute window we have. So I don't think we can take all this up and that at the same time. I don't think we have much time.
Well, that's not enough. They want 2 weeks to look at it. So it
Yeah,
can't,
they would give them, a-
just defer it. Not to the 45 minutes. I understand ours is, it's the time.
okay, so we have a
they-
motion for deferring for 2 weeks and then a second. We'll go ahead and call to vote, on favor? Aye.
And what we'll do, we'll explain to Charles and you can explain to Russell Smith or everybody, that Mr. McMurray, that the public didn't believe they had enough adequate opportunity to review it and the board felt that was appropriate and necessary. I think that.
one note, so Nancy, please just, before you send that out to your board, I do have a list of other parcels that we've identified that really should go to some HOA, so I'll send that to you.
And and we think it should go to you guys.
I would just like to add that we've had a long-standing relationship with WCI/Lennar, and it took me by surprise. I didn't even know this was in process, and they could have notified us as well, because all of this is within our boundaries. So I don't really think there's going to be a lot of issues with very many of these parcels at all. But I want people to know and be aware. We're trying to be transparent as a board. So thank you for the deferral.
So, district manager items is next. We have the music in the park this Saturday from 2 to 4:30. And that would be at the pool. We did have a meeting yesterday with Stony Brook HOA. I think Laura was gonna mention, or speak to a invoice that they're requesting us pay due to lack of service from Mainscape, or alleged lack of service from Mainscape during the month of May. So we're looking for your approval to.
I have an invoice that was included in the August reimbursement request that I did not reimburse them for. The invoice is dated May 27th, which was prior to the landscape agreement that went into effect June 15th. It's for a one-time mow service for the new common area. The total of the invoice is $1,614.07. The description on the invoice says one-time mowing for the common area down Pebblebrook and out front only to the bottom of the berm along the fence line. Also mowed the open lot area since the turf was getting tall, sprayed beds for any weeds. Most service included the following: mowing, edging, weed eating, blowing, and spraying for weeds. After our conversation with Stony Brook yesterday, they claimed that they requested this work be done because Mainscape had not been in there at all. Flavia requested a report from Mainscape that has the dates that they were in there as well as GPS verification that they were there. This invoice is dated May 27th. Mainscape was there May 26th. They're requesting that we pay for this out of their 004 funds instead of having the HOA pay for it. And I looked for the board to make a decision, so I know what to do with it.
So from a staff perspective, it's $1,600. They have it within their budget. It was prior to the June 15th meeting. I don't want to go back and forth alleging who did what and where. And ultimately, it's the funding out of their Stony Brook fund.
Motion to approve the invoice.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Real quick on the event. What have we done to, I haven't seen anything posted.
It's posted on our Facebook page and on our website. And
Because normally I see the post and I must have missed that one. And I thought we were gonna get banners. Because I don't think I haven't heard anyone say anything about it.
this is a very small, low cost, this is a very small, low cost pilot event. Just to see if we can gain some traction on it. And if we do, then we'll make it more formal as part of PrAC's adoption of community sponsored events.
Well, I'm just telling you, normally, if you don't put banners up in this
Yeah.
community, there's people won't see it. And especially, I think a large majority of people that would benefit from it probably aren't monitoring their Facebook on a regular basis. So, just a consideration.
Probably, no way is the answer.
But the subject line.
Look at
We'll keep that in mind moving forward with banners. I have some ideas for that.
Yeah.
District for additional district manager items. I don't have anything right now. What did you?
No.
Okay. That's it for district manager items.
All about Tony. Right, district attorney, Tony.
On parking number, you want to, I mean, we had a conversation and discussion with regards to allowing, I'll call it overnight extended parking at the fun park for family members, relatives, guests at Eagle Point. And that put together a memorandum with regards to items for the board to consider if they wish to allow that to occur with regards to the fun park. And so there are a number of issues with regards to, again, the number of improvements there. And it's open from dawn to dusk at the present time. It's not totally fenced. There's no lighting there except on the street. And so there's issues with regards to liability. We ask people to sign waivers, but those aren't always perfect. And when you're talking about security and lighting, you're also talking about incidents that could happen to the individual, whether they trip or fall or whether somebody accosts them. And, crimes or violence occur and stuff in their property. You always have attorneys out there to say that, always looking for those kind of individuals to represent. So we have to also modify and change the current towing policy, there's overnight parking. Not having proper lighting while allowing overnight parking or parking for extended periods poses significant security risks. And the district would, I think, coordinate with the insurance carrier if the board decides to go with this as to any other steps the carrier would believe would be appropriate for the overnight or extended parking. And then a couple other aspects are typically land development codes will have requirements that parking needs to be on premises unless you have off-site parking. And off-site parking under different ownership sometimes might require agreements. And again, we've not explored what the Lee County Land Development Code said. We don't want to spend a lot of time on that. Whether the parks would be compliant as to a number of required parking spaces, and we would be under whether we need to do a limited development order to allow it to function as an off-site parking. We haven't really explored that. That would be something to also explore. And then, whether, that's why I mentioned whether a limited development order would need to be obtained, what the conditions might be. I mean, that property's been there for an extended period of time. And typically, and again, without going and looking at the land development code, typically local governments like their parking lots buffered with hedges and other items such as that. And if lighting's going to be there, it might have to be low level lighting. A good example of an off-site parking lot that has landscaping, buffering, low level lighting. If you ever been down to Naples, Collier County and gone to Seat to Table, believe it or not, there's a parking lot on the other side of Livingston Road that you won't even notice it's for employee parking. And it had Collier County's allowing Seat to Table property owner to use that for employee parking. Again, it's off-site, so the county required heavy buffering and lighting. And then there need to be a program administratively to, and the question is the impacts on daytime use. And again, that's just a consideration whether there would be any impacts. And then staff would need to have a program to identify the vehicles authorized to park, whether it's tickets or stickers, and how to police that. And the criteria and whether it's going to be a fee or first come, first served. So those are all the factors that I think the board needs to, we believe the board needs to take into account.
So Tony, you're saying if we do this, we're opening ourselves up to a whole can of worms. And we could be sued
There's a possibility
for a
for
whole bunch of stuff.
Well, I think the primary aspect would be to try to minimize potential liability.
Implementation.
You'd have to have what, additional lighting, you'd have to have fencing.
To me, my biggest concern, when Judy mentioned, she said that this is something that they asked the church, which has lighting, a parking lot. And her words here and there was the residents abused the courtesy from the church doing it. That to me was a biggest red flag. And I think right now I'd be inclined to have them work with the church again and work out the issue. Then that's probably better and safer for them to park and pursue that action.
What was the reasons that this came up in the first place? I don't know what
She
you said.
says that Judy says during the holidays, they have a lot of people from out of town. So they don't want to park on the street because it blocks the street.
We put up no overnight parking
Do
signs.
they have a covenant against Park Street?
I think, I think.
They don't?
No, it's just, it takes too narrow. So.
Our position is, we don't allow it, we're not making parking in the front part here. And let's just move on. We looked into it, did due diligence, it's not viable, feasible.
Yeah, I don't know if the board needs to take any formal action.
No.
Would you
Let's
just,
move on.
would you just let her know? Okay.
The next item 13B, we do not yet have a document. I'll talk with you one-on-one as to why we don't, and what probably has not yet been communicating on this. But we're hoping to keep the settlement momentum continuing and going. And our recommendation is that the board continue this item to date and time certain next Thursday at 8 a.m. And again, there's a 45-minute window that was looked at. And it would be for consideration of the settlement agreement, and also we would notice it for a closed door session at that time, in case the changes are so significant to what we sent out to all the parties that we would need to have extended conversations on that. And so as a result, we are also requesting that we need advice concerning the pending litigation, the settlement issues and litigation expenses. So it's twofold request. One, continue at the end of this meeting, not adjourn, but continue this item to 8 a.m. on Thursday, November 9th, 2023, and also authorize and set up a closed door section at 8 a.m. that day. And I've already prepared and sent to the Fort Myers News Press a notice for the closed door section. It will run Saturday. That was the earliest time we get it. So that's our request.
Close the session at 8 and then the meeting.
Immediately there.
Yeah, so the agenda would be open in the public, closed door session, come out of the closed door session, go into open session, and hopefully we'll be in a position to take action.
And everybody will be able to make it.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah, we'd like to have all five.
but it's our reason we want to get to President's Council and by 9 o'clock, so we're shortly there.
I don't know that I'm needed, but I have.
No, I'd like to have all 5 board members there. I think, in my opinion, you're quick.
He can talk fast, like he can write small text.
Appreciate it. Okay.
and who cannot talk fast over there? The two, the three of us in the conversation. Yes, I would ask that the board, at the end, we'll wait till the end to
Okay.
continue this. And then also, have the board's approval, like have a motion that we authorize to have the closed door session at 8 AM on Thursday, November 9th.
I said, but
At the end, you want it at the end, right?
I'm sorry?
You want it at the end of the meeting?
With you.
No, they're establishing the closed door session, we can do
Okay.
that, but the continuation will be.
who got the closed door session?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second on favor.
Thank you. Yes.
Future board business agenda, anyone?
So one of the things that you'll notice is new on here is an additional column for committee and committee meeting date. Daniel, not even a month into the job, is already, contributing to bettering the district. And so one of the things that he quickly recognized, especially with Pelican, and the various subcommittees that they have, is we need to be tracking items and where they stand and when we anticipate them to go to those subcommittees and the dates and et cetera. So that's one new thing that you've seen on here. We are very busy. We've got a bunch of contractual items and you guys ratified some items today with the new budget, but we are steady moving along. So is there anything that you see you would like to pull forward or reprioritize as part of this or add?
What's the latest on the admin building? When do we expect to break ground? Has that changed?
That is, it's
A month behind.
a month behind. FPL and Tetra Tech were supposed to meet today to fine tune the lighting. The county has various lighting standards depending on if it's roadway, sidewalk, site, intrusion, et cetera. So they're supposed to finalizing those today and hopefully resubmit tomorrow. But I was also told that last week too, so.
Are the lights in the roundabout that they just got installed, are they going to be similar to what FPL is putting down the rest of the road?
I believe what FPL is putting on the rest of the road is comfortable.
Yeah, I'm really asking that question and it was, yeah, like everything else.
So but those lights will be like Commerce Lakes, county maintained county.
I noticed that one of the lights, when you come off the roundabout at Commerce Lakes heading west, looks like a truck hit it, it's 40 feet in the air. The lens is just falling down.
All right.
That.
Commerce Lake.
Commerce Lake roundabout going west.
The silver poles, kind of, okay, then that's a county pole. We'll put it in an RFA. Commerce Lakes West.
West, yes.
Got it.
But it looks like the ones that they just put up.
Yeah, so probably most likely county.
And then Laura, you and I were working on a financial template.
Yep,
Is that
next month,
next month?
or next meeting, I mean,
Okay.
with the financials. Yeah, that doesn't go on the agenda, it's just part of the financial report.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things that you'll notice on here that I'd like to bring up, we have put out the Lower Hawthorne well out to bid 4 times. We got consent from SRF to, I'll call it piecemeal the contract, so, go with the district contract directly with the fencing contractor, with an electrical contractor, with a well drilling contractor, underground utilities contractor, because the couple bids over the 4 bidding cycles that we did were over double the engineer's opinion on probable cost. So we are working on soliciting quotes for those various components of that. We're hoping to bring those back to you all together, 4 different contracts, one time.
Did anybody talk to anybody to verify that they'll bid that away? They will do that.
That was, we waited to do that before we went to SRF to ask if it would be allowed. We wanted to make sure it was something that,
But it's not.
So
what
it'd be
you want to
interesting
do,
to
because You don't
know.
have one person in charge
right,
and responsible. Now you got 4 people responsible.
Is this the gentleman that came that we deferred? There was a $1.8 million. Is that the one? And did he bid and the price went up or he didn't?
He didn't fit in.
Yeah, and just for the record, I think what Chelsea is saying that we've attempted to comply and we have complied with the competitive solicitation requirements of the statutes that.
4 times.
4 times. And and splitting up the project is not being engaged in for the purpose of evading competitive solicitation. It's just that we basically have now 4 different projects for the one. And it's a function of us complying with the competitive solicitation requirements and having no success. So I'm fine with it from a legal perspective too.
And we couldn't reach out to that company, right? To ask if they're willing to bid on it. Or we have?
Yes.
Okay.
We're trying to get quotes back, so we've received 2 so far. My hope is to get a 3rd. So, but that as an FYI, we'll try to bring that forward as a comprehensive package very soon, because they want to drill it during dry season.
Okay. Do you have anything here about do you want to give a brief read on the meeting that you had with the Lee County Sheriff's Office and South Trail?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. We had was shocked we were able to pull it together so quickly. The board requested that staff schedule a meeting with the 4 schools, the sheriff, the fire district,
The town.
and the county. Thank you. We had a meeting a week and a half ago, and all 3 schools were represented. The 4th being the public high school did not have anybody from the high school itself, but they had a safety officer from downtown representing on their behalf. Very good meeting. We're gonna work through, South Trail had some concerns with regards to their fire station over there on what, Commonwealth. So they're working through with the elementary lower school. Everybody was able to vocalize their concerns. We've worked with the sheriff on getting a traffic detail to enforce the parking in the roadway.
Do they understand they're now queuing on Daniels?
Yes.
That is ridiculous.
And I think, I think, I want to make sure we're clear. They are not addressing the queuing of parking on Griffin, Daniels, or Commonwealth. That's a traffic. It's there. All they're willing to do is the parking on the right of way. The actual parking of vehicles. So that they're going to take care of it as on their detail, but.
So if they park on the road in the turn lane, the county doesn't care.
If they're,
Well,
let's say that they don't care. If they are queued in line, they're not gonna go and write a ticket to a parent queued in line. Now, if they're arbitrarily parked up in the grassy area past the roundabout up by the high school, pulled off and parked and waiting
Or
for
they're
the kid.
blocking an entrance if it's a turning lane, but they're not turning, but they're blocking because they want to go straight, because they want to, then they will remove those people.
So we have a traffic enforcement detail that the sheriff's office will be starting, or if they haven't already, I think we had one, I don't know if we've had one come through.
I haven't seen it go.
But we do have a follow-up meeting scheduled with them. The principal for this elementary school, the principal for the lower and the upper charter schools, very cooperative, willing to, work with us and try to resolve some of these issues. They know, I wasn't aware, but the charter high school wasn't originally constructed to be a high school. It was something else prior to that. And so it was converted into this. This school is 30+ years old. So, the requirements now that the school district has for, planning and stacking and queuing of cars and parent pickup, they didn't have that 30 years ago. So we're all working collaboratively on resolving these issues, understanding that part of it's infrastructure, part of it's enforcement, most of it is education. And it was a very good meeting and we look forward to meeting with them again.
So we haven't started the detail.
I can tell you, it's gotten out of hand.
I've made the request. I don't know if they filled the shifts. So I'll have to follow up.
Would you follow up? Let me know.
Well, if today is an example, I came down Griffin, instead of taking Bob's shortcut, I came a long way down 82. And right there by the high school.
How was it?
Well, the no parking signs were up. They were very visible and everybody was parking on the right of way. But they must have also opened the gate earlier or something, because when the cars were queuing up, you could look down the parking lot and there were cars in between, there were cars.
Oh, they
all
queued
the way
you all the way
off
through the school.
spaces.
Yeah,
They were snaked through
that's fine.
the you know, the path
The back, yeah.
between all of the parking spaces. And I had to slow down a little bit, but I was able to get around this time. I didn't have to stop.
And that's the
Wait
difference
till-
between the elementary school, because they queue inside school grounds. So what you see on the road is overflow of what they allow in, you know. The high school has the gate closed. You don't queue
Yeah,
inside.
and that was the big.
That's the problem.
And they don't open that gate until 1 o'clock.
You can't queue inside.
Well, I left the house at 1:30, so they must have allowed them to, yeah.
They-
1 o'clock is when they
Yeah.
open it in the 20th, but okay.
So
But anyway, people are parking on the no parking.
It's a nice 3-lane road, you know. They park right down the middle.
two other
Yes.
things that I need to make mention. As you know, we try to do a quarterly presentation have the sheriff come in and do a quarterly community presentation. That date is on November 14th from 10 to 11. And the most important item that I wanted to bring is you all made the request that we invite Lee County Solid Waste at the request of the residents to come here and have a public meeting. That has been scheduled. That
Thank
is
you.
on November 15th from 4 to 6 p.m. here. Randy has sent that out. Doug Whitehead, Solid Waste, I think that's his title. Solid Waste Director with Lee County. When I asked him about, coming, he reiterated, there's no official plans in place, but I'd be more than happy to come and discuss. And I believe he attended a Pelican meeting
He's been to a lot.
with Carol Brophy. with some others.
4 to 6.
4 to 6.
Can you have, anytime we have stuff like, can you just have George send an invite out?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Oh, I got it already.
You got an invite
Electronic for this meeting.
to that meeting?
My wife, that's what she's told me about.
Oh, because we know that's just a notice. He stays like a calendar for like.
He wants to, yeah.
If you think about it, then you get it.
Yes, we can send that out.
Yeah, now I spoke with you.
So those are important dates to mark the calendars.
Any news on the roundabout? Are we still on track here?
Yep, still on track.
When are they gonna be done?
They will be done very soon with the roadway stuff. The fountain components are gonna take some time, but they're
That's
moving along.
fast. They're moving along.
Yeah, remember all that? Yeah.
They're coming along with the roadway improvements, so. I think in April is the last date that I heard.
Come here at about 7:30 in the morning. It backs all the way.
I don't think that's
All the way in links.
Oh, good luck.
Ridiculous.
All right, one of those supervisor comments? Bob?
First, just to inform you that the GIS data for landscape contracts, we have had the district's area on the GIS. And now we have a layer for Meriscape interpretation of their PPCA responsibilities. And this has not been vetted by PPCA, because it just went on this week. But we'll come to an agreement on what that should look like, and we all agree. Met with Sevilla this week on the landscape easement, and they've agreed to accept our language, and they're taking it to their attorney. Chelsea provided you with a copy of the easement agreement similar to Avila, and that's now with Sevilla lawyers. So we expect to get that moving on. The next one will be, I believe, Verona, followed by Camarel, Milano, Tiberio, and Valentina. Hopefully they'll all be done this year. And then the very last one, when everything else is reconciled, we'll see if we have any flyers with PPCA. I've asked Daniel to put out a monthly status report for the district employee that's now in Pelican. What did he do last month? How many days was he there? What was accomplished? So.
Please make sure that those requests come through me.
I did. Well, it went through.
It did not come through me.
Did it go to you, Laura? I went to Daniel.
Okay, please make sure that
Okay.
the direction should be coming from the district manager.
Yeah, it was a request, wasn't it? It was a request.
Okay.
And I did just send it to Daniel, but anyway, I know that's gonna be important for PPAC. We're all interested in what this guy's gonna do and how he does it.
Who's the gentleman do we hire somebody or we're sharing?
We're sharing right now. We're tracking, there are four dedicated hours a week to Pelican until we can get somebody hired.
Then we'll go to 40. And actually, we do have an agreement now between the district and the club at Pelican for where to store our new high pressure buggy and washer. So it's gonna be at the golf house. So it'll be there all the time. So that's all good news. Good progress. That's all I got.
Thanks about that.
I got three. First one, next meeting, can we put on the agenda to discuss POAs? What I'd like to do is find out, we've kicked this can down the road to where something has got to be done. And what I'd like to do is maybe get a notice out to these 3 or 4
Do you have a
owners.
do you have a list of those?
POAs, no, I do not. Well, I know that Fairway Lakes Office Park and
Where are they from?
Commonwealth, what do you call that one down there, Tony? West Links Drive, the Office Park.
I think that's what it is.
Commonwealth. I don't remember
Worthington?
which one.
Worthington.
No,
No, I
that's,
think
that's Commerce Lakes Drive East. This is the one that's over there, that's where the school and the hospital deal is off of West Links Drive.
All right.
And give them an option, if you either recreate the POA, which they're not going to do, they're not gonna do it. Or we just basically tell them we're gonna create 3 or 4 or however many there are, special use districts. And we're gonna go in and take over all the stuff, we're gonna bill you and assess you separate taxes. I do not want to get in a position of where these people come screaming in, these people being the people that are impacted by those, saying you need to take it over because it fell apart. They let it fall apart. We shouldn't have never allowed that to happen. But the issue is, if we let them know you can work with us, but we're going to assess you and have a special assessment. We've already got one, Town Lakes. So it's not like we're creating something new. So I want to have a discussion of that. Next one is, I must have missed it, but I was not aware that our 4 ponds that we bid, we didn't get any bidders.
No, it's back out to bid. So
It's
we're
back
all-
out to bid.
We're all under the cone of silence.
What does that mean?
You can't talk to anybody.
Oh, okay. But what happened the first time that nobody did? That's not good at all. And then last one is, where are we at with our good old friends at DOT on paragraph 16, negotiating the contract?
I met with them. They were unwilling to amend it.
So when are we gonna have the meeting with the county commissioners?
That's, if we want to send a letter.
We knew this was gonna happen.
With board direction, if we want to send a letter to, Board of County Commissioners to try to set up that.
Cecil already called me up and he said, what are you gonna do? So I said, that's not what we said. Well, we said we were gonna try to negotiate. I said, I told Cecil, I said, I know what's gonna happen. Your staff's gonna stick to the guns and just say, no way. And it sounds like that's exactly what they did. The bottom line is gonna end up with the attorney and the commissioners themselves.
I did.
So somehow we gotta meet, the issue is we have to draft a litigation to get them to talk.
So I did ask, Laura and I went downtown, when was that?
It's ridiculous.
A month ago,
That's what I'm like.
about a month ago. I apologize for not following up on that. That's.
Well, let's see if we can get a
Well-
meeting with to me, the only way to do it is just go straight to Cecil instead of going with the other 4. He lives here, and point out the issue is we cannot live with paragraph 16 as the way it's written. And you do anything about that road. Well, if the road's not gonna be built, what are you worried about? Well, then give that to us in writing that you're not gonna ever build that road. I mean, pick your poison, which way you
So
want to go.
one of the things that I did request of, what's his name? Randy Searchy and,
Dave Murphy.
no, Rob Price. Was that could we, potentially change the language to say, with ample notice or with something to that effect, or that a planned project had to be on their 5 or 10 year planned CIP. That way we would have the planning time.
But that means you still pay for it.
Yes,
That doesn't solve the problem.
That just give us a heads up.
I just have to put a special fund together to avoid an assessment. My thing is get them to change it, because this is nonsense.
So we follow up and try to do a meeting on Tony, how do you wanna do it?
Well, it's up to the board. I think it might be, if I'm there, they're gonna have their attorney there. I can't be, as represented by council. I think it might be. Yeah, I mean, I think it might be, I think it'd be.
More than this, I mean,
If you just want to have it as a more of a conversation from the standpoint of generals to generals,
Mhm.
you know, it'd be better for a designated person from the board and Chelsea, their manager and designated person. You want it?
I don't care.
If there's an attorney there, then I'll be there, but otherwise, if I'm going to be there, I have no problem with it. But if I'm going to be there, then they're going to have.
Well, I thought the direction that you guys wanted to try to do is exercise that, that clause at the end about having both boards meet in a public.
Well, that's a possibility. Okay, there's a dispute resolution process in the Florida statutes, chapter 164. You know what that says, that there's a dispute between governmental bodies before you file a lawsuit. One body can adopt a resolution invoking that dispute resolution process, asking, outlining what
You have to take the initial steps.
You take the initial step. Well, no, and then what happens is then that goes to the other body staff. And so we'd like to have a meeting with the management staff and try to see if we can come to a resolution.
With the point, somebody from the board with you, somebody from the county have that first. If that doesn't go, then we'll go ahead and do that.
Right, then what happens after that, assuming for sake of discussion that those discussions are not fruitful, then one party can require mediation. And the mediation is with both governmental bodies in a public setting. And so you have this board sitting with that board in a public meeting, trying to mediate this in public.
Well, unless and until that staff down there, including the attorney, gets instructions from one of the 5 commissioners, nothing's gonna happen.
Okay, so then let's.
And that's what we got to create.
And
is that
I think that's where heading is that the board designates.
So let's designate a board member and then Chelsea will contact them and.
They're gonna want to have, I would assume that like for like, so they would want to have one of their Board of County Commission representatives.
Which is fine. So let's try to have CISO and an admin, you, and I think Ed. And I would have go for Ed to go with it, and then we'll do a formal meeting, we'll go with that. If they want to have an attorney, then you notify Tony, then Tony will be in presence, otherwise it'll be not necessary. So let's start at least that formal conversation. Are you good with that, Ed?
That's fine. I think that's just where we gotta go, because right now they're following what the colonel tells them to do.
So was that,
Are you guys agreeing with?
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
so,
Let me know. Time,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get something.
That's-
Hey, when we have open positions, are we also posting them externally?
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So like Parks and
There you
Rec,
go.
you guys post it on the-
Yeah, they goes to 5 different sites. So I know Indeed is one of them. There's 4 others. And then the bigger positions, like the supervisor roles and like the project manager one are like on ICMA and
Okay, fine. Yeah, just
APWA.
curious.
In addition to that, yeah.
I have nothing.
Nothing? Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Can I?
No.
Can you withdraw your motion?
Yes, I withdraw my motion.
Okay, so I have. Well, I have, yeah, I'll come to you. I have some just comments. So first of all, I want to say that I do believe that we went really good with the meeting that we had with Stony Brook, and I definitely want to continue going to that direction with them, working on the 3 or 4 different items.
Oh, never mind, Charles, 1 minute.
That's good.
I forgot an item on that.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
you
take,
did.
that's gonna take three to 6 months. to
Well,
get this done.
Yeah, I apologize, and I'll apologize. I apologize.
So what is, before I go, then what is the?
Yeah, the discussion yesterday was, if you recall, we had that informal attorney general's opinion that put cold water on the possibility. And at the time, we all looked at it and says, this doesn't make any sense from a legal and practical perspective. And the discussion at that time was, do we go back, we can ask for a clarification or a new one? It was like, no, that person's not gonna change their mind because of how that whole process worked out. Part of the discussion yesterday was to work with Stony Brook collaboratively to craft, looking at the rationale or approach that was taken in that informal opinion by the Attorney General's office, and then sort of create and draft a new Attorney General's opinion request, collaboration with Stony Brook, that hopefully would result in the answer that I think is the appropriate answer. That is, the district does have that ability. So that's what we talked about yesterday, and we'll have a more forward, and so I guess we just want consensus today. And I thought to work with them in that regard.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And that was very positive. Again, and I'm sorry, Father.
That's not happening overnight either.
No, but the idea is to try to get that out the door within the next 2 months at the most. And as like the last time, the letter request, the opinion request will come to the board for their review. And the Stony Brook board will review it, so that we're all on the same page.
And we're doing it together. I think.
That was a nice meeting.
And honestly, where we're marching is, we're marching towards next fiscal year. Because that's where it becomes important. So we have,
Time.
almost a year, to get this done, and I,
Okay,
I
so,
think this is good.
Then Marty.
Can I ask a question?
yes.
If you come to the mic,
Yes, I mean,
I apologize for not. bringing-
Marty,
Marty's got it.
So Marty Mantonfeld, PPAC. So I have a question. I listened to your discussion with regard to the queuing at the schools. Why don't the schools have to provide an environmental impact statement for all those cars sitting there on idle?
Good question for the school district that I strongly encourage you to ask them, because they
Well, it could be the school district. I think maybe the state where it's a legal question.
the school district is their own entity with regards to permitting, so they have it's all internal, so I strongly recommend you ask that question to the school district.
School district. Thank you.
thank you.
Tuesday, 6 o'clock
There you go.
in there.
Thanks.
Nice. So, okay, and then the second item I wanted to, so we have new pool hours, right?
Well, reflecting the
Change in daylight.
change
Okay.
per state statute, so 30 minutes,
According to our permit.
30 minutes. On both sides.
After sunset, or after sunrise and before
And
sunset.
then the last thing I want, and I know I asked Chelsea multiple times, and you say you did talk to the county, so regarding the roundabout. So there are those two large oak trees on that corner lot that they were originally planned to be saved, and, they did the wraparound, but they were damaged during the construction. So I had requested for Chelsea to have them remove it on their dime and replant it, because what's gonna happen is they're gonna leave it the way it is, and they're gonna pull it out, and then the district is gonna be forced to pay for it, remove it and replant it. So if we can have a follow-up, because I know they removed the other one.
Can I-
It's not something that I think it needs to be wait for the end. It needs to be done now, because they are literally working on a concrete sidewalk adjacent to the trees.
So we had, what's his name, Ronnie out
Mhm.
last week to do an assessment of all of the trees there. And I'm waiting for his report to bring back to you guys at the next meeting. On his assessment on if those trees are gonna survive or not, and if they need to come out. And I told the county that we were gonna have a professional arborist come out and inspect them and provide a report, and based on his report.
Has the county given us pushback on it?
No, no,
Okay.
I'm not-
Trees on.
Because we didn't have to do that for the other one, and I'll tell you this, that then frustrates me, because when I initially brought this up, there was a trench that was dug up there, and the two main roots were cut. So then I feel like we dropped the ball, like, does it mean that I have to go there, or my staff has to go there and take a picture and provide it to the county? I mean, they should have seen that, I mean, it's obviously,
Are these the trees in the median to the north?
yes,
That's right.
no, not in the median, on the side where the empty lot is,
Oh, Gateway LLC.
yes. There's, the first one is fine, the one right, the two next to it, they're.
So,
It's not the median, it's on to the right.
Yes, if you have another one, let her know, but
well, the contractor at the time said that they could do work around that. And so at that time, when he initially brought it up and there was ponding over there and there was a break, I put them on notice saying, hey, if there are any issues with this tree moving forward, they're gonna need to come out on your dime. And so they were put on notice. And so you made mention in the last couple weeks that, hey, we need to look at those. And so we don't have an arborist on staff, so we had Ronnie come out. Scott had him look at a couple other things too
Okay.
around.
this is
So
a bigger thing, that's
Yeah.
fine, I just don't want it to be suddenly we stuck with the bill and then resident saying we took the food down.
No.
All right, that's all,
No, that's.
so do you need to make a motion for?
Requesting to continue the agenda item 13B, like in boy, to 8 AM on Thursday, November 9th, 2023, at the same location.
Second.
We have a motion and second, on favor?
Aye.
All right.
Now we get this now, oh.
Now you can go home, sir. You can go home.
Well, I apologize again. I got.
Have this one here, because there was that.